Good evening. Some of those who cross the channel in small boats to claim asylum in the southeast will be sent to Rwanda, where the government says they can resettle and rebuild their lives.
The Prime Minister, who was in Kent today, said the new policy aims to deter migrants and break the business model of the people smugglers. Opposition politicians say the scheme is unworkable. Rwanda is in East Africa, 4,000 miles away. The plan will cost British taxpayers £120 million.
Which is 24 days.
Said the Royal Navy has now taken charge of the operation to stop the channel crossings, taking over from Border Force. He said in future, no boat will get to the UK undetected. We'll be live in Dover for reaction shortly. First, this report from Phil Hornby.
The world's busiest shipping lane, busier than ever today. The small boats just keep on coming. Hundreds of people arrived today, 600 arrived yesterday. But Boris Johnson won a huge majority at the last election, promising to take back control of our borders. Instead, the number of people heading to Kent and Sussex like this has spiralled completely out of control. Last year, a record 28,000, and those are the ones we know about. This year, it's predicted there'll be many more. The Tory party's private polling says their supporters and many other voters are frustrated and angry. So Mr Johnson came to Lydd in Kent today to announce what he called a radical new policy.
From today, our new migration and economic development partnership will mean that anyone entering the UK illegally, as well as those who have arrived illegally since January the 1st, may now be relocated to Rwanda. This innovative approach, driven by our shared humanitarian impulse and made possible by Brexit freedoms, will provide safe and legal routes for asylum while disrupting the business model of the gangs.
Rwanda is 4,000 miles away. The Home Secretary's been there today to confirm the arrangement.
This will see some of those arriving illegally in the UK, such as those crossing the Channel in dangerous small boats, relocated to Rwanda to resettle and to rebuild their lives.
With local elections looming, Mr Johnson hopes today's announcement will shore up his party's support and wrong-foot Labour. Their leader today rejected the new policy.
It's a desperate announcement by a Prime Minister who just wants to distract from his own law-breaking. They're unworkable, they're extortionate, they're going to cost taxpayers billions of pounds, and they just reflect a Prime Minister who's got no grit, no answers to the questions that need
Yeah, but
answers.
what would you do?
The Lib Dems say the new policy would cost a fortune and wouldn't work. The Greens call it vicious and grotesque. And some Conservative MPs don't like it either. So stand by for a huge row when they all get back to Westminster next week. And stand by too, possibly, for the new policy to be challenged in the courts. The saga of the small boats in the Channel certainly isn't over yet. Phil Hornby, ITV News.
Migrant welfare groups have been quick to attack the Prime Minister's Rwanda migration deal, describing it as cruel, costly and unworkable. Sarah Saunders has been getting reaction in Kent and is live for us in Dover. Sarah, many more migrant boats arrived there today.
Yeah, it's been a warm and calm day here in Dover, and even as Boris Johnson outlined his plans for their future, hundreds more people arrived here in small boats. Operations were carried out by the RNLI and by Border Force, but for the first time from today, they're being overseen by the Navy. I asked the leader of Kent County Council specifically how he thinks these new plans will affect Kent.
I think naturally any of us would look at people being transported across such a distance with concern. I think the question is how it works in practice. As far as I can see at the moment, it is unlikely to apply to under 18s, who are, of course, one of the key areas that's always been a major issue for us here in Kent. So I think it would be premature to make a huge judgment on it, but clearly to the degree that there is some reduction in the channel crossings, that would clearly be welcome as far as Kent is concerned.
Well, refugee welfare groups have called this plan unworkable on the one hand and unethical on the other.
Yeah,
The Kent Refugee Action Network.
Kent Refugee Action Network. Here comes my friend Bridget Chapman. Here she comes.
Refugees on the one hand and those from the rest of the world.
This looks to us
Hello,
like
mate.
another piece of performative cruelty by the government, who pledged to give a warm welcome to people fleeing conflict in Ukraine, but seem to be turning a cold shoulder on people fleeing conflict and persecution in other places. We want the public to be very sceptical of this plan. We think it's going to cost a huge amount of money, will damage Britain's reputation, and actually we think it's unlikely that many people will ever actually get sent there.
Today, Boris Johnson stepped away from suggestions that small boats would be turned back in the middle of the Channel. He accepted that the new plan will probably face legal challenges and said in the background he continues to press Paris and the EU for a returns policy, which he said would solve the problem.
Sarah in Dover, thank you.
In other news, Kent police have referred the